I mean, the card and the playmat exceed my expectation because I wasn't expecting anything of a store level type event. So I'm very happy that we have that. That gives you something as early as April.
There's obviously been decks over the last couple weeks that were not successful in the weeks prior that just kind of pop out of nowhere. So it's possible that there is some level of a surprise or a modification. To me, this probably just comes down to inkable versus uninkable.
It's fair.
Although the 2 lore is nice, and listen to your conscience is a really interesting and probably powerful ability. What's up, everybody? Hope everyone's having a good night tonight. It's funny that our friend here, Jeff said the OP announcement day was fire, Scott, and that's why we're here to start.
Yes.
But I was too busy trying to get it's like 20 degrees outside, so I had to get my hot chocolate on because it's cold.
I think it's less than that.
It might be.
I was just out there.
It's so cold. It's like it's unbearable if I'm being honest. But I really want to put up a poll in the chat real quick, so I'm walking over to that. But while we're here, Scott, what's like your initial reaction before we kind of break it all down? Like, were you excited to hear it? Was it unexpected? What was your initial feedback there?
It was more than I expected, so that's very good. I thought that the fact that there's locals, nationals, continentals, whatever you want to call it, eventually leading to worlds, I thought that was a lot more than I expected. I really expected pinpoint destination events, like tournament at Gen Con, tournament at this convention, tournament here, tournament there, not go to locals and play and go to regionals and play and all that. A leads to B leads to C, and they're saying there's going to be additional ways to qualify, so that means there's probably more events that are a little bit larger because you'll have to have other ways to qualify. You might qualify through standing in other events. They haven't said all that yet. So it was a lot more than I was expecting, and I was very excited about it.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it's a lot of good. I was as I was saying to Scott, I think it went live around 9:20 this morning.
Yeah.
And I was working, and I didn't have when I'm at work, I normally what I'm doing when I'm in the air and I'm out on the beam, I don't have my phone, I don't have my watch, I don't have any notifications on whatsoever, so you cannot reach me. So I got off and I get down, I get over to my bag, and I go to my phone, and it was a million messages. I was like, oh man, that's something must have happened. And then I saw a missed call from Scott. And I'm like, oh, something big happened.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a fun moment to see that they had announced it, which is really, really cool. We do different things for work. We're very different fields, actually. But shout out to Tyler here for asking. I work in the entertainment business for IATSE. This morning I was setting up Disney on Ice in Allentown. So there you go.
I'm a data scientist for Vanguard.
There you go. So, YouTube's being annoying, right? It's starting to piss me off. So while I'm messing with it, right, Scott, why don't you tell me a bit about our website today, right? So this is our OP announcement, and it starts basically everything's kicking off with the set championships. So can you give me a little bit of a rundown for that? Now, listen, I'm very well aware that if you're hearing this at this point, you probably already heard about this, but in case you didn't, we're just going to remind everybody.
Yeah, so this is basically your store championship type setup. So this will be, I assume, probably not all in one day, but a one-day event at your actual store. I'm guessing that not every store that has OP will just have this. I'm guessing I know there's applications that went out or are going out to sign up for this. So I'm guessing that there's a limited number of these. It reminds me a lot of Realm Championship qualifiers that we had in World of Warcraft. So I don't know how store championships work exactly in Magic, but I know each store I think had their own, but in Realms for WoW, a lot of stores in the area would have them. So over a series type, over a season, you could play in multiples, because like not every store is going to be able to hold the event at the same time, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to force every store to hold them at the same time. So probably what's going to happen is, over a month or two, or like a month and a half, they'll have these set championships. The first one is the Rise of the Floodborn one, which is I get probably why they're giving out a Floodborn card as the prize. So the top 4 winners will get the Stitch Rockstar. It's an enchanted card, like it has the enchanted rarity on it. It is a promo. I think it's like promo 30 or something like that. It is an enchanted card. And it also has the promo symbol as well. And then the top 2 competitors will get a playmat of this card. So every store that has this, again, I'm not really positive whether every store that has OP is going to have this or every store that has kits is going to have this, but I'm pretty sure you have to sign up for them separately is what I saw, and get like approved to have them, because it's just a bigger deal than just getting a kit. So I don't really know what the qualifications are. So no idea of any of that stuff. But essentially, over a certain period of time, every store will have 4 Stitches and 2 playmats. So it's not like there's a ton of them that are out there. I assume this is the Rise of the Floodborn prize, and then when it's the Into the Inklands Championship, for example, which ironically, the next set is legal when the championship for the set before happens. So like Into the Inklands will be legal in April for when you're playing for the Rise of the Floodborn Championship, which is fine. It is what it is.
I mean, I don't know. Like they could do whatever card they want. You know,
Right.
like Stitch is a chapter 1 card. It's not even like it's a Rise of the Bloodborne card. So, and for one, I think as like players, it's cool that it is particularly Rockstar Stitch. I genuinely hope that it's Floodborne characters, because at least they're always the type of characters that have like replayability, because you never know when some new card's gonna come out that rebrings back Floodborns and things like that. So I like that it's Stitch. Obviously, the art is awesome. There's definitely no denying that. For anyone that wasn't paying attention, I did put a poll in chat. I'd love to know if you guys can see it and check it out. If you're happy with the initial OP, because honestly, I talked to a lot of people that weren't necessarily happy about this particular. So let's get into the rest of this, Scott. Now, what the cool thing here is that we did learn about the future sets. So now we know for sure we have May 17th, August 9th, and November 15th. So that's the rest of the year. We're clearing it out. Some of these dates are more like important to note than others. And the May 17th one, I'm not sure if that really is kind of messing with anything in particular, but August 9th, we found out, is the D23 Expo weekend. So that might be something to look out for. And then November 15th and November 29th. This is like several weeks before PAX Unplugged again. So it's kind of the same scenario as last year, where when Rise of the Floodborn came out, PAX Unplugged was right around the corner. So that's nice to have there. I don't know anything about May, though. But regardless, it's kind of crazy to think that set 6 is like in November, and we're like we're already talking about it in a way, because now we have these dates.
Yeah, and August 9th is technically a week after Gen Con, but I would be massively shocked if it was not available for sale at Gen Con.
Right. I think it would be very similar to that initial wave of chapter 1. It would be my guess. And that, I mean, assuming they're at Gen Con, which I think is a pretty default thing. So I don't see it here, Scott, but you were mentioning it in the open about the system, right? Yep. So they basically announced that we're going to have regionals, and then from regionals we're going to have nationals, and then from nationals we're going to have worlds. Obviously, we didn't
sort of.
Right.
Be careful about saying nationals, because it's technically
continentals, right? Yeah. So which is fine. I mean, that's a word I hadn't said in a while, but that's what we called it in World of Warcraft also. Totally makes sense. So that's good, because it's creating a system, right? And I think between the two of us, we had really just thought like, oh, hey, they're going to have an OP announcement. It's just going to be like, hey, this is what we're doing at Origins, and this is what we're doing at Gen Con, and this is what we're doing again at PAX Unplugged. That's not what we got. We actually got a much bigger level to this, which I think is very interesting. And I'm overall content. I get it. It's not a lot of information. It's kind of an announcement about an announcement, but I was not even expecting this level. Honestly, like people were asking, like, "Oh, do you think there'll be a world championships?" I was like, I don't really think so. Probably not. I think 2024 is a little too early. I don't think they really need to do it yet. Which I guess I kind of got right because it's in 2025.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know. It's cool. I'm glad we have it. But I don't. If this isn't really starting until May, then I'm not crazy concerned with all of the details. But we are going to get into it because we do have some questions asking about it. But what do we got? I'm a huge fan of the man bun. Thank you. 2 franchise story removal. Oof, man, we got lots of friends today. How is everybody? I'm excited to see everybody from Facebook, from YouTube. We got lots and lots of fun. Seriously. We're gonna question in, and Scott, let's talk about. I guess before we move further, is there anything more specific that you want to talk about this type of this announcement today?
No, the big thing is I've seen people say that like locals leads to regionals. That's not true. Like the regionals, I believe the regionals and the national and the continentals will both be just show up and play.
Yeah, I would. Well, I mean, nationals might not be, or like continentals might not
they
be.
they said that worlds is invite only. They did not say that about continentals.
Okay. So I wonder. I mean, I don't know. I guess like in past games, maybe regionals lead to buys.
Yeah, there might be that. They also said that there's different ways besides just doing well at continentals to qualify for worlds.
Sure.
And
which could mean in my mind, like that could mean there might be a rating system.
Probably like a point system or something.
There might be a point system, right?
Yeah.
Like so, there might be some type of acknowledgement for participation at events and things like that. That's kind of where I would go.
Yeah, and if there was anything like that, in my opinion, which I think would be a good thing, in all likelihood, the regionals will not all just be the same day, like back in the day with Magic when all the regionals were in the same day. If there was some type of system like that, like they got you something like that led to B, led to C.
Right.
In all likelihood, the regionals would not all be the same day. So it could be possible to play in more than one. I don't know if like I know like in WoW, for example, like the European Championships were not the same day as the US Continentals, for example.
Oh yeah, they were like months apart. Yeah.
Right. So
actually,
I don't think they'll be months apart. They did say those would be in the what?
There were different formats sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did say that'll be in the winter. So our guess is that they'll be at our absolute shot that our guess is that they'll be at like PAX Unplugged. It could be at Spiel, like could be at big events like that.
Ironically, because it said that holidays. I mean, granted, like holidays could mean any holiday realistically, but if we're assuming it's the end of the year, it's holidays, and they were already at PAX Unplugged this year, then I think it's an okay, fair guess to say, oh, well, maybe that big event will be at PAX Unplugged this year. There's definitely space for it, 100%. Like there was plenty of additional space that could have been utilized this year for Lorcana. So if they're planning something big, there's no reason for it not to be there. That would be a good guess. The last thing I wanted to mention. Go ahead, Scott. Go. You're good.
They did say Worlds was invite only. They did not necessarily make that clear for the other events.
Yes. So, but I think I heard. I think I heard or read that there will it's likely that World Champions won't be like the only thing going on at the World Championships.
Yeah, it's going to be like a convention
type. Shout out to Jonty. I think on the Inkwell video, he had mentioned it. And I didn't particularly read that myself. So I was just like, yeah, I'm sure he read it.
Yeah. I saw it in one of the articles. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's like it's not the only thing going on that weekend.
Right. So, for us, we've kind of explained these in the past, but they're like, this sounds like Dark Moon Fair-esque events where it's like, you can go to do this thing, but there's other things to do. Yep. And maybe this will they already announced that they're going to do like fan events and stuff like that. So this could just be like a one-stop shop of like kind of one in the same type scenario of trying their best to do those things. But I don't know. We'll see. It's funny because they're like, oh, the announcement's coming in March. March is only 6 weeks away. It's not very long. I think we'll, before we know it, it'll be there. But I did want to give a quick shout out. Scott's new article came out on Lorcana.gg. It's about Floodborns. It's fun.
Floodborn Matter cards, yeah.
Yeah, Floodborn Matters card, exactly. So there's some deck list on there, all that fun stuff. I'll drop the link for this in the description in the comments. But this is Lorcana GG. This website, this article has been posted on everything at this point. So we may as well rep our own, our own stuff, right, Scott? I mean, let's be real.
Yeah, sure.
So sure. There's the article for anyone. I'm sure Scott will eventually share it on socials later as well. But Scott, let's talk the official organized play announcement, and we have some questions about it. So our first question is from HBC Dresden. Do you believe that Ravensburger will have a clearly defined judge program or comprehensive rule document before the May set championships? Do you think we will get top 8 and/or participation promos for store championships?
The first part, more likely, yes. I would imagine that. I would imagine there is some informal judge program. I don't think it's going to be like as formalized as the Magic stuff was or is. I don't know if it still is. Like with different levels and all that stuff. I don't even think that's still. I don't even know if that still exists. But like. Informally, I would say yes, but like not anything that's like, I don't think you're gonna have to take tests and things like that, like you had to back in the day for Magic. In terms of comprehensive rules document, I mean, not like on the level of like, what's that document for Magic that has like every card in it and tell you like all the errata and all the rulings and everything.
I mean, I think that it should exist.
It should, but it's not going to right away.
I mean, it's only 3 sets in at that time. I think I don't know.
It's just too much of an undertaking, I think, with everything else. You can already see they're overwhelmed. I mean, I just don't see that happening.
Sure, but I think it should exist. Again, it's something that should exist. There should be something that is easy for us to reference that's, I mean, I guess the app does a good enough job on it, although now we're finding erratas on the app before announcements. So, hey, who knows,
Yeah, I mean, the question is if these things are going to exist. I just think it's too, like, I hope they do, but I don't think they are in the format that people are going to want. I think there's going to be like a rules document that tells you how to run events and like.
Well, that actually already exists.
Yeah, but I mean, even more formal, even more large than that. Like if there's if there are any, like this is what a legal deck is, like blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. Like
yeah, I mean, I'd like to think there's like an extension to what was already out there, just a more, I don't know, less fluffy version, I should say. Like we'll have to see. But as far as judges go, you need a program like it to exist. You need a way to, it could be one of two things. It could be on the tournament organizer if Ravensburger is not the tournament organizer, right?
Yep.
So, like, if whoever they hire, whether it be Star City, PPG, Pastimes, like whatever those would be, it would be up to them to have their judge certifications and et cetera, like how PPG does, how SAG does.
Yep.
If they do it themselves, then they're going to have something. So we'll have to see, right? As far as the top 8
and participation.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, it's not that difficult to hand out, participation promos, right? Like, I think that's totally acceptable. I don't know if you'll go to a top 8 just because we've already seen top 4. So, like, I don't know if we'll have, like, 2 separate ones, but, I mean, it's possible,
I don't think we'll get either, but that's just me.
I don't know that we need either for what it's worth, but it wouldn't shock me that if they did it.
Yeah, that's fair. I just don't think we will.
All right, so it sounds like Ravensburger will be releasing 4 sets per year. How many booster boxes of each new set should a competitor player plan to buy to give themselves a good chance of getting a play set for each card? So, Scott, you love having this conversation. So.
The math is like, I mean, literally the math is like 15 boxes.
Yeah, it's actually a terrible idea to only buy product to get a play set.
Yeah. Yeah, like you because of the 5 different rarities, because of how legendaries work and how much rarer they are. So like, you're getting 5 legendaries you're an average of like 5 legendaries in a box. So if there's 12 of those, just to get a playset of those is 48. So if you had extreme luck, and you did not duplicate any of your legendaries, like you just got them straight in order, it would take you 10 boxes to get to get a complete playset of legendaries. But because that's not going to happen in all likelihood, you probably have to up it by like 3 to 4 boxes from there. It's just saying anywhere from 13 to 14 boxes. So if you literally wanted to only open boxes to buy them, you would need that many boxes. So I would not buy that many boxes.
I mean,
I would.
you're gonna buy that many boxes.
I
But
mean,
but that's not the reason.
right. I'm going to buy a lot more boxes than that. But just as a player, I would like as a player. Honestly, I wouldn't buy any boxes.
I don't know. I still think getting the commons and uncommons is worth it to an extent.
Not.
So, all right, well, whatever. I mean, I like to open some packs, even though I open up way more than I want to. I in the end, I mean, honestly, if we talk about Floodborne, there's a lot of bad cards in Floodborne, like just like a lot of very bad unplayable cards. So like trying to get a playset of all those is not even remotely worth it, which is unfortunate. But I think it's like just getting a few boxes and then seeing where you sit with what you need for the more playables is definitely the way I would go. We have 2 here. I want to give the shout out to Julie here. Howdy from London. That's insane. What's up? What time is it there? It's like 3 in the morning.
It's like 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, Jesus. And then, do you think they should hold the promo card tournaments all in the same weekend to avoid people attending multiple events? I do not. I want to be able to, go and support different stores in the area that are going to be able to host these things and play in those different events. I think that's a great thing for everything. And the other thing is like, if, depending on where you live, I'm not sure, how many of these are really going to be available to you, but if our area, we might have 3 or 4 stores that would be able to play this. So it would really suck if like you had to differentiate all those players into 4 different stores in one day rather than over a course of a month. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's specifically not a league event, a league level event. So like to me, league is about like winning your store, for lack of a better and I know in Lorcana, like it's not like competitive, like it's not all that, but like essentially it's winning your store. Right. I know in the past, again, take you from WoW for example, like when a store would have a realm championship or a realm qualifier, it was a big deal. Like people would show up that day, and it was like 40 to 50 people might show up that day to play in that event. Yeah, and they weren't getting that on a regular basis. So, like, if the stores should make it into an event if they are able to host these tournaments, and if they're all on the same day, they're going to pull so much from each other that like, I don't want to say it's not worth it, but like, it's nowhere near as well as they could do if it was spread out over a certain period of time.
Yeah, you want to try. Each store wants to try and get the most out of it with the most players and the most other sales on the day, whether it be sleeves, water, whatever it is. Like they definitely want to try and get the most out of it. So if you had to condense it all into one weekend, it would definitely pull too much from everybody. It's not good for anyone.
And I'll also say if that does happen, the Stitch will be worth infinitesimally more than it would be.
It will be. Honestly, crazy enough. If there is only 1 or 2 days for it, like a Saturday, Sunday, depending on whatever day that store hosts it, I think it would be like buku dollars.
Yeah, way more than if it was spread out over a certain. I mean, it's still gonna be worth a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but if it's spread out over a certain period of time and you literally are able to get like multiples, like you could go to more. Like I'm not saying it's going to be worth a ton less, but it'll be worth a little bit less because it'll just be less people. Like it won't be spread thin through, like you could only get one. So like you're going to want to hold on to it. There'll just be more in the market if you're able to play in multiple weeks.
Probably. Does the Enchanted Stitch card and playmat meet or exceed your expectations for organized Lorcana play? And do you think the Set 5 releasing August 9th, which is the first day of D23 2024, that Ravensburger will have a bigger presence hosting any kind of tournament for the event?
I mean, the card and the playmat exceed my expectation because I wasn't expecting anything of a store level type event. So I'm very happy that we have that. That gives you something as early as April. I don't know when regionals are going to be, probably like in the summer. So I think I think that level of event is great. And I think that prize with that level of card that's as playable as it is great. I think it's a prize that people are going to want. So therefore it's going to have value on the secondary market. So I'm definitely happy about it. So yeah, definitely exceeds my expectations.
It was the first thing I had seen when I finally was able to get through my notifications was the Rockstar Stitch. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So the fact that it, I assume we're going to get one of these for every level of event, this Enchanted promo looking thing on the bottom. That's my guess. So it's the first one. I will say, in my humble opinion, if I'm a collector, I would not be trying to buy the first ones that people start selling. I'd wait a few weeks, let more come into fruition, and then buy it a couple weeks later if that's all you're about. As we've learned from experience,
Yeah, but there's no more product that's going to be open though, so it's going to be.
No. I'm just saying in general of like, if this is, let's say the store championships are like 3 months long.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like buy the one at 2.5 months.
That's fair.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it usually goes way up, then dips, and then goes back up again at the end.
Right.
Like, you're almost over.
That's great.
What was the second part of the question? No. Question.
This one. Oh, the
D23.
Yeah. So like, I've never been to D23. I don't know much about it. I don't know like the space. So I don't know that I can answer that question fairly. I have no idea if they would even host a tournament there.
I think you have to pay to get in, don't you? Like, I don't think it's free to get in.
I think it's like, is it like it's kind of like a BlizzCon, right? Like it's a very limited too, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't even know that they could really get away with it just because it's a limited space thing.
Right. So I don't think D23 will host events, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably not. Maybe, I mean, they might like host like small little things or whatever.
Yeah.
Nothing like, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice to people interested in creating teams to compete?
Yeah, you need to, in my opinion, like your team needs to be centralized in your geographic area, because if you're not, I mean, I'm old, so like I'm not like a big get everybody together online and play. So like you need to be able to bounce ideas off each other in person. And even though like we obviously have teammates that are not around, to be honest with you, but we also have core people that we test with as a team that are local. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to just talk to the people that that live close to you and that you play with on a regular basis, because it's not, it's important to have people that you can bounce ideas off of, number one. And then the second thing is it's continuing to expand, like, have your little circle and then expand out from there, because you need to be able to not have like, and I guess we could talk about this forever, but like you want to make sure that you have a variety of ideas. So you want to make sure that like you're not too homogenous in what your testing creates and what you're like. You need to have ideas that think outside the box. Mm-hmm. So I guess the best idea to me is if you have a small core group of, let's just say 5 or 6 guys, okay, well, girls, guys, whatever, reach out to another group that size and test together when it comes to a bigger event. That's especially when it's not a local event. So, but like, if you live in, Philadelphia, like we do, talk to a group that's in California or something like that, like whatever, like find a group that you're either not going to be around as much or that like you trust through other games, and bounce your ideas off that way. And that way, like, but like make sure you have your core group first and then go find another core group to bounce those ideas off of. And it doesn't have to be all 6 people talking to all 6 of those people, like whatever the numbers are, like I'm just making this up. It can just be ambassadors and things like that. Like you just want to constantly be expanding your knowledge and expanding and getting new ideas, because it can just become a lot of inbred testing, and you don't want a lot of that to pull through. I hope that answered the question. I could talk about this for a very long time.
Yeah, honestly, we could. The only thing I want to say, you really need to position yourself with like-minded people. Because from personal experience, you can put yourself in a position where you're just like aggravated with who you're even like aligning with or teaming with, because if you feel that you're putting in way more effort than someone else and they're just kind of like getting the A on the class project type scenario, like that can cause a lot of issues. So you definitely need to find, like, whatever the number is, like a group of players that you respect and you all have like-minded aspirations, in all honesty.
That's a good point.
Okay. How many different decks do you think are needed for the meta to be healthy?
It depends on what tier we're talking about.
I mean, what's a healthy metagame?
So I would say, like, if there's 3 tier 1 decks, if there's like 3 of each tier, so like your tier 1 decks are your top of your meta, right? So like if there's a rock paper scissors, that's why I'm using 3, like against each other at the top of the meta, or they have different better matchup tables against what I would consider to be tier 2 decks, which means these are decks that are not able to just simply walk in and dominate everything below them all at once. They have to work to. They may not have good matchups against each other, and they may only win certain matchups against the tier above them. But in my opinion, like you need like 3 to 4 good tier 1 decks against each other to have a healthy meta, and then probably like the same number of tier 2 decks, and then a bunch of like random stuff from there.
Right.
It's like random one-ofs that like it only has a good matchup table against like one deck, and then if you bring it there and dodge all your other matchups, you're good to go. But like this deck gets crushed by 80% of the rest of
them. It's like a straight rogue deck or whatever.
Yeah. So I would say anywhere from like, you can feel comfortable walking in. I'm not saying you have to know how to play all these decks inside and out, but like in my opinion, like there has to be like 5 to 6 to 7 decks that are viable at any one given time.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty fair assessment. It just needs to not be. It needs to be more than 2 for sure. Just to create like a real conversation of decision points, to be honest. But outside of that, you know, I think as long as you have enough options to really, and this is like a weird thing, but it's like the game has to give multiple layers of players a good choice. So like if only control is good, even if it's like 3 or 4 different versions of control, like that's also not very healthy. So I think you need to have like controls be good, mid ranges be good, aggros be good. Like there has to be like a good deck of all choices, at least, to create like a true healthy metagame for me. Like, because if it's just like, oh, the format is all control on control and whatever flavor of control, and like that's not a great position to be either. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at.
That's fair. Yeah.
All right. With the official rules on the way, spoiler alert, this was before today. Would you like to see drafting brought into the top cut for big events? Why or why not?
Only if it's a limited format to begin with.
Okay.
I'm obviously totally fine with a day 1 constructed, day 2 limited thing as well. Top 8 being constructed again. I'm totally fine with multi-format events. Don't get me wrong. So I would say that would be my preferred way to bring it in, is in a multi-format event. So like the way that works, for those that don't know, is like, let's just say there was like 9 rounds on day 1. Like usually it's either X number of people, like
or
100 people, or like or a certain record automatically.
Certain record or like 96.
Yeah. 96 people or a certain record makes it to day 2. Day 2 is all usually in a large event. It's draft.
6 rounds of draft.
6 rounds of draft. And then your record stays the same. So like if you were 6-3 on day 1 and you go 5-1, you're 11-4.
Yeah.
Technically, the way it should work is anyone that makes day 2 should have a chance of making top 8. It doesn't always work out that way.
It depends on like, the overall players, but yeah.
Yeah. So your day 2 record will get added to your day 1, and then you still play. You come back and play constructed for
top 8, top 16, whatever it was.
Top 16, top 8.
Yeah, whatever the top cut is.
Yeah. So that's one option. The other option is literally if you have events that are sealed deck, it's fine for top 8 to be drafted.
Yeah, like if there's a store championship that says, "Hey, we're gonna do a 6-pack into the Inklands sealed event for this," and the top 8 is gonna draft.
Right.
That's totally fine too.
Totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Agree. Slam dunk answers. All right. So, what is the origin of the Forbidden Mountain? Yours, not the Disney one.
So we talked about this on. We were guest on Citizens of Lorcana last week. In case you didn't listen,
shout out to Jarrett.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description below. You can listen to us on the Citizens of Lorcana podcast. We talked about this on there. Basically, the idea was we like tying a location, not like the card type, but like just a location that you go to as like what our name was. So I started looking up like what were some cool locations. Like I wasn't going to call us like Ariel's Grotto or like Beast Castle or anything like that. That was too generic. So I said, what is Maleficent's Castle? And as you can see behind me, it's called the Forbidden Mountain. And I don't think it's ever actually, it might, I think it's literally mentioned. I think it's actually the name of like one of the songs in Sleeping Beauty as well. Like something, because when you look up the Forbidden Mountain on YouTube, you'll find like scenes from the movie that have songs. So.
Like honestly, if you go to like the wiki page, it's an incredibly small wiki page.
Yeah,
like it is a very obscure, unknown location, I would say, within the Disney lore. I actually think it's also commonly referenced to as the Forbidden Kingdom, but I think that might have been from Kingdom Hearts, like a small reference or line. But like I said, it is very, very limited information for even what it is. So
I don't think it's mentioned in the Maleficent movie either, like the one with.
I don't think so. No.
What's her name? Angelina Jolie or anything. So anyway, so I thought what Maleficent's Castle was, and this is what was there, and. Given the other options for locations, because it was going to be like you have to go there to learn things. That was the point. This was the one.
Go to the creepy castle in the Forbidden Mountain. Hey, learn about the meta.
It worked out. So it worked out.
It's pretty good. And then our part 2 is besides Lorcana, what is your favorite TCG game and why?
Now or ever?
I guess ever.
Because I don't play any other ones now.
Yeah, I don't play any other ones either. So I guess ever.
For me, it's World of Warcraft. We mentioned it. We talk about it all the time. And WoW actually surprisingly has less sets than I actually thought it did. Now that I've been, pilfering through them as I sell away my collections.
Well, I think that they were 3 a year.
It was each.
But if you count all the little like dungeon sets.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Like there were like the 4 set of each year, I would say. So there's probably like, I don't know, what is it, like 20? Maybe more? Maybe more?
It fits in 2 5,000 count boxes. Like
6, 9. Yeah, but that's because you don't have much of it.
It was 4 of each card at one point.
Like right now, I can only fit 1 set in a 5,000 count box for Lorcana. So.
And it doesn't count the last block either. The last block isn't technically there. The Time Walkers block.
Yeah.
They're all in my basement. So
yeah, that's because you can't sell those.
They're technically not there.
Can't list them.
Yeah, but it's definitely World of Warcraft. I really love the rules. I really like the OP system. I really like the prizes. I really like the Dark Moon Fair setup that they had. I really liked loot cards. Loot cards are probably like the number one reason why I've been able to. I'm fortunate to be able to have a decent job so I can continue to play card games anyway, but like they really helped alleviate some of the travel costs and things like that there were in the game, because basically you were given a card. If you don't know what they are, you scratch them off. They had a code on them, and then you could use that code in the actual World of Warcraft MMO to get like cosmetic items. They didn't really do anything. They were all cosmetic. Yeah. But the MMO players would pay a lot of money to have them on their characters. If you've ever played an MMO or played any of these kinds of games, you know that the players are crazy and they pay a lot of money for these cosmetic upgrades.
Spectral Tiger's like over $8,000 or something like that right now.
I think I've seen them go for 20, to be honest.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, but I will give them credit where credit is due. They also at the national or continental events, or the Darkman fairs, like they had hotel room blocks, and just for staying on the premises, they gave you loots. So they basically effectively paid for your hotels. Like it made everything a lot cheaper.
That's why I'm a big fan of like these enchanted prizes, because if you don't want to play with them, you have two audiences that you can sell them to. You can sell them to a Disney collector. You can sell them to, other players that actually want to play with them, or you like they're going to be very easy to move. Is the point? A lot like the loot cards.
Yeah.
The other thing I like about these enchanted cards, to come back to that, is I think they're going to be. This is something I would get graded.
Yeah.
So,
which is funny because I doubt they'll be in good enough conditions to hit 10s. You know, like depending on packaging and all that crap, like depending on who's handling them.
Yep, that's true.
So, yeah, it's probably worth it, but risky.
Comes back as an 8 and just play with it.
Yeah, comes back an 8, just open it up.
Just sell it as near mint at that point. I don't know.
That's actually really
8s are considered near mint anyway, so
that's fair. Scott, what decks are we bringing and playing at Hartford, and what do we think will surprise us deck-wise at the event?
It's either just going to be Ruby Amethyst or a Mufasa deck for me.
Yeah,
I don't think anything will surprise at the event, to be honest.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's hard to say. There's obviously been decks over the last couple weeks that were not successful in the weeks prior that just kind of pop out of nowhere. So it's possible that there is some level of a surprise or a modification. But at that point in the game, at that point in the meta, 2 weeks before, 2 weeks before the next set release, I don't know.
3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Is it 3 weeks total?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the first. Sorry, I keep thinking it's the second week, but it's the first week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it'll be too much of a surprise, but Amethyst is really good, guys.
I just like unlike today's OP announcement, I again just don't feel like there is enough incentive for people to go outside the box. I know there are people that are still coming up with decks. I've seen, I think, like 2 or 3 new decks, like you mentioned, over the last couple weeks that people have been doing really well with. But like in the end, like I don't know how much it's going to translate to the physical metagame, and I don't know how many people that are going to be going to Hartford necessarily had the opportunity to play in other events. So they're like, oh, I don't feel like playing that again. Well, I don't know that a lot. Now, granted, there's a Friday event, a Saturday event, and a Sunday event, and I'm not sure that I'll play the same deck all 3 days.
No, I definitely will not. I can tell you that much.
So
I will very likely play 3 different decks.
Yeah. So, but I assume he's like for the big event on the 5K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amethyst, something.
Yeah. So
too hard not to.
We have a lot of cool options. I mean, we've been working on like it's all just like 5 or 6 cards, 7 card, 8 card difference from existing lists. But
honestly, there's we weren't spoiler alert, guys. We weren't really planning on having this live stream tonight. Because we weren't, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about since the last time we talked. So the OP gave us a reason to come in and have the conversation, have the live chat. If you're hanging out, definitely hit the like button for me. But seriously, like, there is a video that I've already recorded and edited, and it's coming out on the channel. Maybe not tomorrow now. It might come out Friday, but it's 5 decks that I would consider playing at any event coming up. So you might find something there. Like last weekend when I covered it in the meta report, the Amber Steel aggro deck I played was actually a lot of fun. It's a lot of pressure, definitely different. A lot of my opponents didn't necessarily know how to react to it well, so that's always a contender. But all in all, I think that there are plenty of choices to play. But I wish I had screenshotted the name. Someone commented on the meta report, and they said, if you're not playing Ruby Amethyst, you're just donating to the pot. And I was like, man, that is some strong words.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's hard to argue. It really is. Like, all right, this guy knows what he's talking about. So yeah, if you're hanging out, definitely like and subscribe if you're definitely new to the channel and this is your first time here and you're enjoying that vibe. Of course, if you're listening on audio or just on Spotify or anything, you want to follow us, that's also great. But we were gonna do it again, Scott. I did it again, right? We're gonna play the game.
Oh,
All right?
cool.
All right, we're gonna play the game. So Jarrett and Dan over on Sis and Lorcana definitely gave this a better name than I had for it. So we're calling it Would You Rather now. And for those that didn't check out last podcast, are a little bit new and haven't heard, I'm going to give two choices between cards that you must choose only one to play, and then tell me why you chose it. So this way, I had a little more fun this week, Scott. So
Okay.
there's some bad cards on this.
All right. Good.
All right, so here we go.
There's some bad cards.
Definitely, once again, if you're in chat and you want to hang out, you want to hit the chat. Let us know you choose one of these. All right, it's important. We need to know the answers. All right. So here we go, Scott. Our first one: Archimedes, the highly educated owl, or Chip the teacup, gentle soul.
I would play the owl.
All right.
I like that owl. I like Archimedes. I think he's cool. I like that movie.
He's a really cool foil. I will say that much.
Yeah. Chip annoys me as a character.
What?
Yes.
Friendship over.
So, I like Archimedes.
I'm going with Chip, but I respect the owl. But I like Chip. Why do you not like Chip? Come on.
Not a fan.
Killing me. All right. The harder choice: Dalmatian puppy or Dalmatian puppy.
I thought there was another one I thought that was cute.
There's 5 of them, man. All right. I can only put 2 on the screen.
Oh, man, this is tough. Of these two, I think I'd go with the one on the right.
All right. So that's
The Winky
4E. That's number 5.
The Winky one.
Yeah, he's cute.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you.
Yep. I like how they're all in the same chair.
What?
I like how they're all in the same chair too.
Oh yeah, no, I think that they did a really good job at I think it was Steve that was saying that the guy had just sent a bunch of them over, and they're like, we like all of these. Like, what do we do with it? So it's one of those cool things, like to utilize the art to build the design. I think is what ended up happening, which I think is really cool. So seeing that we had 5 of these, I think it's just 5. I don't think there's more than 5. Unless,
Yeah, I think there's 5.
You never know. Maybe there are more than 5.
Maybe it'll be an enchanted version. I don't know.
Oh God, I hope not. Maybe for what it's worth, maybe that's it could be the promo.
The participation promo. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying for like league play or something like that.
Oh yeah.
You know, like
no, we already know it's the.
Oh, we know. Oh, we do. It's right. It's the mini, the Peter and something else, right?
And the piglet.
And the piglet. Yeah. All right. Well, then all my hopes are gone.
You're dashed.
The Dalmatians win. All right, Scott. Pinocchio on the run or Queen of Hearts sensing weakness.
I mean, I wish I liked the one on the left better, but the fact that it's uninkable and all the other Pinocchios are also uninkable just makes it way too difficult to play him, because you just have too many uninkables in your deck. So I'm going to go with the Queen of Hearts sensing weakness as the better card, even though I think that ultimately, like, you're lucky to ever draw effective cards off her. But I think the format is getting a little bit more favorable to allowing her to actually see more play, because I actually am seeing more challenging nowadays.
Yeah. To me, this probably just comes down to inkable versus uninkable.
It's fair.
Although the 2 lore is nice, and listen to your conscience is a really interesting and probably powerful ability. It really is difficult to fit this card in. Like the uninkable, the 3/3 is not great. The 2 lore is nice, the ability is nice, but with all the amounts of uninkable choices you already have, there's just better options even at this cost as an inkable. So I think Queen of Hearts does take the win. But I thought it was really interesting for these particular cards, like by design, is that they're pretty close. They're both the same cost. The difference is the uninkable versus inkable, and then the lore versus lore, because they each have shift and each have an ability. So I thought they were close enough to say, like, who knows, right?
It's also important to note that, like, I think as its own card, Pinocchio can actually do more, right? Like,
Right.
needs other cards to work, right?
Right. Well, I mean, Pinocchio technically needs another card to work.
Right. Sure. I think Pinocchio is a more flexible card, but his uninkable nature just makes it so it's too difficult to play.
Fair. All right. Bounce or falling down the rabbit hole.
No doubt, Bounce. Falling down the rabbit hole just gives too much to your opponent. It's just you're giving them way too many choices. People know how to. Given that Lady Tremaine sees so much play and is so powerful, falling down the rabbit hole is so easy to get around its condition of getting them to choose. They're just going to choose the worst character, just like they do with Lady Tremaine. And you're giving them an ink. Yes, you get a card as well, but like you're not always in a position where you want that either. So like I don't understand what this card even really does, to be honest with you. Like it's way worse than I ever thought it was going. Like I thought it was gonna have some play. I thought there was gonna be situations where like it basically was Lady Tremaine, but it's just not. It's not Let It Go as Lady Tremaine versus Dragonfire. Like it's not the same. Bounce to me, again, because it's an Emerald card, it obviously must be uninkable. And that's really the only reason I think it doesn't see play. If there's ever a time where Emerald just doesn't have a million uninkables that are just necessary to play, I think this card will see play. Like, but unfortunately, this card fights with Bippity Boppity Boo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you could run this and Bippity Boppity Boo as like your only uninkables, which is impossible because you're an Emerald and therefore they're all uninkable, it would be great. But it's like every good Emerald card is uninkable. So, but I do think Bounce is very good. Like, I think I wish it could see play. It's just, you just can't fit it because there's just better options.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like, man, I don't get it. It's funny though, because I'm not even like positive if you made Falling Down the Rabbit Hole inkable that it would be playable. It would be closer to a tech card because you can just like not use it whenever you don't want to. But yeah, it seems like it's just not enough benefit for himself until there's like cards that really you gain a benefit from them going to the inkwell. Like maybe that helps. But in the current format, I don't know. Like it's not any good. Yeah, it's
like when I was writing the Floodborne article today, I wrote a little blurb about the Mrs. Jasper. Like she doesn't see play either, right? No. I hope I'm not spoiling a future decision, but
no.
So, and I was saying like, okay, so she costs 4, and then you play a Floodborne, and then you get to get a free ink, like Detective Mickey.
Yeah.
But that essentially means you play her on 4. Typically, you're gonna ink on 5, play a Floodborn, right? So you're technically going from like 4 to 6 in one turn. Like that's just awkward. Like,
yeah,
it's that's not really a break point that you want to do. And this card's exactly the same way. Even if you looked at it like its own ramp, you're going from basically 5 to 7 because you're gonna want to play this on like I guess you could play it on 4. So like you could play it on 4 and go from 4 to 6. Like it's just not like you want to go from 3 to 5 and skip 4. I've never seen where you like want to go from 4 to 6. It's just awkward.
I mean, I don't know. I guess if there's a world where the problem is you just don't have any characters in play to even like do this, but it's like if you had the Fishbone Quill on 3, you know, and like you're just somehow you're able to get to like 10. Like
you're just super dirtily.
Right. It's just the problem is like you just don't need to, right? Like even if you had to, or like you had the ability to, it means the whole time you're just not interacting with your opponent's board enough. Like this one card is just going to take out a card that you couldn't get rid of on turn 1 or 2. So you're like, great, my 4 cost got rid of their 2. It's like, what does that do for you? Yeah.
And you're ramping them too. Like you're giving them the ink. Like
which is in most cases not good for you.
It's the same reason why you don't see people like shifting Queen on turn 2 and playing Let It Go. Like you don't want to give them the ink on their 1-drop or their 2-drop. Like that's not good. Like then you're actually giving them an advantage. Like
I would rather shift and let it go my own Queen.
Right.
Like honestly, like, yeah, whatever.
Good point.
Yeah. Like I'll just go to 5 on turn 3. Like, that's cool.
Really?
Like,
maybe that's a viable strategy. Yeah.
I mean, you need to have 3 cards in your opening hand to make it work, but
It's a forgiving mulligan.
Yeah. Well, that was all my would you rather's. I only did 4 this week. So.
Oh, okay. You don't want me to choose between Olaf and Minnie? Come on.
No, because we've already had that. So.
The answer, by the way, is now definitively Olaf.
Definitively
Olaf.
Because you like warm hugs, finally?
He shows up in more than one deck.
He does show up now. Yeah, he's in more than one deck now. So
yeah.
But even Tiana's getting some love at the 1/3.
It's true.
So
1/3
rise up, guys.
Flint's seeing some play too. 1/3.
Yeah. I mean, we just sold a bunch of those.
No, like the 1/3.
No, it's insane. We just sold a bunch of those. So
1/3 rise up.
Yeah, man. 1/3 stat line. Who would have thought it was going to be this important? I don't know. I mean, Let the Storm Rage on is a pretty good card. Teeth and Ambition's pretty good card. It all makes sense.
Yep.
So before we wrap it up here, Scott, final thoughts. I guess is there anything hopeful that we're going to hear in March? Is there anything that you need to hear in March that we didn't hear today?
I need to hear.
Yeah. What do you like? Is there anything you need to hear?
I mean, I need to hear when and where the events are.
I mean,
because I need to travel to them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, that's what's most important for me. And I also need to know if am I allowed to play in, North American Continentals and European Continentals?
That's actually a very important question.
Yeah, because there was a line that said regionals. Maybe I was wrong then earlier. I think it said something about regionals qualifies you for one of the nationals.
Okay, so yeah.
So you may have to choose. In WoW, you had to choose, for example. You couldn't play in both.
True.
But there was enough side events that they were.
Yeah, because there was still an additional event. Yeah.
I'm also curious to hear whether or not, and I don't know that we're going to get this, to be honest with you, whether or not Ravensburger themselves is running these events, or obviously they're not running the store level events. I would highly doubt that they're running the regionals. But I'm curious on the Continentals, and I'm sure they're running World. So it's basically, I guess at that point, it's just the Continentals.
Yeah,
I'm just curious if they're running those.
Maybe maybe they're not running it.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, if they're already strained on what they're doing right now, then hiring out isn't the worst decision.
Yep.
As long as it's to a trusted source. And there's options out there that are definitely willing to do it. I think it's okay, but it's hard to say. It's one of those where PAX Unplugged looked really good, and that was run by them. They did a very good job aside from tournament registration. They did a very Kylie's giving the groan on that one too. Aside from tournament registration, they did a very good job on the event. The whole PAX Unplugged weekend was great. So they've shown that they can organize that event to be successful. So I think it's possible.
And I know most people are going to be looking for prizes. I don't care. I'm going to be playing these events regardless. And because they've already shown at a store level championship event how big I think those prizes are going to be, I can only imagine that they're going to be good.
I mean, just to put it in perspective, if you go on eBay and you search, Lorcana event playmat, or Gen Con playmat, or PAX Unplugged playmat, Convention Center playmat, they're over $1,000. And there was 8 of those or 56 of those given out in one weekend, and then another 16 given out another weekend. And I think that's all of them. I don't think there's more. As far as I'm aware, there are definitely less than 100 of them out there.
Yep.
So I don't know how many store championships there's going to be, but if they're only giving out 2 at every event, they're going to be sought after. They're going to be prized possessions. So that plus the Enchanted promo, it's not a bad event if you're just saying, man, I really want to. I want to just win prizes and I want to win money, etc. It's essentially they're going to be converted to money pretty easily, in my opinion. So, I wouldn't be too worried about not to me the store championship thing. They don't need any more prizes.
No,
they're good at playmat plus, that if I guess if there's packs involved, fine.
Yeah, sure.
But you don't even need that. You're already your EV is already very, very high for finishing in the top.
Which is another huge advantage for the stores. Like, I doubt they're going to have to, whichever ones get chosen or whatever, however they do it.
No, they should just get sent this kit.
Right.
Yeah, it'll just be the kit. It's the same thing.
And so, like, and I mean, you're probably gonna have, I mean, I'm not saying you're gonna pay out the wazoo, but like, there's gonna be some nominal fee to play in the event. You got to have gaming space.
Yeah, $20-$30. Yeah.
Right. So, like, that's great for the stores.
No, yeah, especially if they don't even have to pay anything for, for the kits, which they shouldn't.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So, but yeah, I think I'm very interested to hear the locations. I like, we've said this at the top. Like, we think that Origins and Gen Con are kind of does, but I'm now hoping that they're just additions.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm hoping that, like, there's something going on at Origins, but it's not even like regionals, or it's obviously like Origins is too soon. It wouldn't be like Continentals or anything like that. But I'm hoping that like Origins is just like another event. Like, oh yeah, like Robin's going to be here. We're just going to do this. And then Gen Con's the same thing. I just hope at Gen Con there's just like, yeah, Robin's going to be there. There's going to be events and yada, yada. But this other stuff is going to be at other, locations around the world, realistically.
Yeah, I actually think the conventions are going to be those other events that you can qualify for Worlds at.
You know what? That makes a lot of sense. And you could do the same system too. Like, you can do like those 3-round tournaments, and the people at 3-0 play, get into the Sunday event, like whatever. You can do that exact same system. Hopefully not with starter decks, but
I also don't think that. I don't think it's going to be as hard to qualify for some of these things as people think it's going to be. Either. If there is a qualifying system, I think it's going to be pretty forgiving, to be honest.
I mean, I would be shocked. I don't know. It's hard to say. I qualified for every Worlds in World of Warcraft. So like without a problem. Like, and I qualified for every Realm Championships. And like the Realm Championships was a little more simple. That was really just a participation of like, hey, when you show up, you get something. And then if you make top 16, you get more. If you make top 8, you get more. If you win, you get more. So it was like, that was a point system. And it was just like, you needed 30 points or something like that at the end of the season. You get invited. So that's like, as long as you go and participate, you can get invited. They can very easily do the same thing for this, but I don't even know if they really have to. They could just say, at regionals, like the top 32 get an invite or something like that. Like, you could just make the number ridiculous. And of course the invites can pass down as well. So if you go to multiple regionals and people already qualified, I'm with you. I think that like, especially early on, they want people to experience these things.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be a little more lenient on the qualifications, and I'm sure that majority of us, as long as you participate along the way, you'll probably be.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything last before we get out of here, Scott?
No, it's just very exciting.
Yeah, it was definitely unexpected, which was good. It was cool. I honestly, when they made the announcement last week, I was like, oh, we'll probably get it. I don't know, during the Super Bowl, right? Like,
right.
Like everything else, guys. But yeah, so definitely fun tonight, guys. Thanks for hanging out in chat. You guys were super awesome again, as always. If you haven't yet, please hit the like button for us. If you're looking for upcoming content, we cover the meta here, cover decks. Scott's got you on the weekend cards. This week we only got 2 cards so far, Scott. So
they're already written up.
I know, but I'm saying we got to ramp up. We got to ramp up. But thanks again, guys, for hanging out, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
See ya.
See you guys.